It would be like you being one of these fishermen that as soon as you come in, you get in your car, you pack your stuff, and every single week you're in a different location, right? And so what you're having to do is you're having to start all over again with your marketing instead of if you pick 2 spots that you're going to be in twice a week, right? So, and they're consistent over time, people start to associate and start to understand repetitively over time where your location is.
Hey everyone, welcome to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where we celebrate the S.O.B that you are, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we mean small-owned business. We don't mean S.O.B.
Listen, we know that as a small business owner, you are working hard on the daily to keep your business fully operational while trying to promote it. And while some days it may feel like the business is owning you, if we're being honest with each other, I bet you would admit that you wouldn't give up the insanity for anything.
Our commitment here at the S.O.B Marketing Podcast is to give you the real talk, what works when it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting your business, and then what doesn't really work.
And Chelsea and I promise to always keep the conversation real. All right, welcome back to another episode of the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where we are talking about all things marketing related. So good to have you back, Chelsea.
It's good to be back, Vivian.
My partner in crime. All right, so today we're going to be talking about consistency, and we want to start this conversation off. You know, Chelsea, like, by trade, you are not exactly the most organized person, and
No.
I'm not being offensive when I say that.
No, you're being accurate. I'm not very organized. I've learned to become organized. The thing is, recently, as we've grown and we've gotten more clients, which is wonderful, that's great. The problem is now that I'm working with all of these different moving parts, I need to actually make sure I'm getting what needs to be done on time. So making to-do lists, writing everything in planners, having a calendar, like a physical calendar. I've learned to be really organized with all of the content I'm creating so that I don't lose track of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and just to put this in perspective too, I think a lot of times people think that because what we do is related to marketing, that it's somehow easier for us to both manage the business side of things and do the marketing on our own and also manage the clients. And that's simply not the case. I mean, y'all, we come up against the same things that you do as fellow small business owners, which is we have the responsibility of keeping our business going, right? And in our business, we're putting together, researching, writing content for both emails and social media for our clients. And so we have that part of the business. Then we have the part where we're generating free content for people to attract potential new customers and clients. And then also we have to be out there promoting ourselves, right? So it's the same stuff that you guys are doing, whether you have a storefront or an online business or, you know, any other company product or service that you're trying to promote. So I think the one thing I can tell you personally is I started doing, I know earlier Chelsea and I were talking about when I started doing YouTube, and I was asking her, I said, well, Chelsea, did you think when I started posting weekly videos that I was something I was going to be consistent with? And Chelsea's like, I was in college. I didn't care. I wasn't paying attention. Thank you. Goodbye. So Chelsea just was not
honest.
She was like, girl, I didn't care what you were doing. Like, I was busy living my best life at college. But that is, you know, back in 2017, I started uploading videos on YouTube consistently. And I can tell you that the hardest part of all of that is making the commitment to be in it for the long run. And so today, what we want to do is just kind of give you a little more guidance and some tips on maybe framing consistency a little different, because we do think it's the one thing that can up-level your small business. And it's the one that a lot of people just don't talk about, or they don't give enough value to it.
Okay, really quick. I have never heard someone say up level. And I know we just had this conversation and you Googled it to prove to me that it was a thing. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's definitely not a thing.
It's definitely a thing. And
Mm.
Chelsea
Level
claimed that I
up.
was, she says I'm making words up, and I am not. This is not a made up word. You can easily say up level. When you up level something, you're leveling up, okay? It's like a video game. I don't
So
know
do
what
you
to tell
notice
you.
how to explain up level you used level up? Okay,
No.
that's my point.
All right, smart butt. So it is the key, and I do think it's the one thing that can set your small business apart. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, why that is. All right, so I'm going to start with the most obvious thing, which is, and I don't even like to start the conversation here because it does seem very obvious, but in case somebody out there needs to hear it. So we admire people that have a good physique, right? So, I mean, I certainly do. So,
Okay.
because I'm like, well, anybody that is tone or they take good care of their health, whether that's being through a skin regimen or they're actively exercising, and you can just tell that they're healthy, right? So health is a priority to them. I always admire that. And the thing is, while I can look and appreciate and say, wow, that person really, I naturally will associate commitment, a level of commitment to that, right?
Okay.
So I say, wow, they either put in the hours at the gym or, they're doing what they need to do at night just to be sure that, their skin looks great. And then also they're eating right, all of that stuff. But very few times do we start to associate the same thing with any type of consistency in our social media. And what I mean by that is, if you're a small business owner, you very likely at some point has said, I just feel like my social media is not working, right? Like I don't get enough engagement. I don't get enough likes. I don't get enough inquiries from it. But we don't work backwards and deduce the same thing that we do from looking at someone that's walking around with a six pack, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't say, well, what are the people that are getting the results on social media or in their marketing campaigns? What are they doing? And if you were to look and narrow it down, you could bet that you're probably seeing someone that's consistent.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is, however their approach, they're consistent in it. Now, don't equate consistency with having to post something a certain amount of time, but equate it more so with how they're showing up. They're showing up in the same way to their audience. Some people do that by going live once a week, right? It starts to, they're going live. Their audience then knows that around this date and time, right, they're going to log in there and they're going to start talking about a certain subject. It could be about the type of post they're putting on there. If they share carousels that are informational and they have really great tips in them that they can apply and use on the daily, then that's why they're going to that account, right? To get that type of information. And so I think that's where it's one of those things where even though we don't associate consistency with how successful a marketing campaign is, that's exactly what it boils down to.
And I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but you've already kind of touched on it already. It's being consistent to your consumer. So giving them a consistent positive experience. It relates back to your brand and what they can expect from your small business. So being consistent is going to help you with your branding. It's going to help you build trust. And in the long run, it's going to help you with customer retention because your consumer is seeing a consistent product from you, and therefore they feel more comfortable coming back to you again and again.
Yeah, it's curious to me, we live in a world where we're constantly building relationships with people. And I have friends that are very different in their own ways, right? So I think it's strange to think about the fact that when you look at somebody's personality, it's consistency that over time, so like what makes me say, hey, this particular friend is like super funny and she's up for anything. It's because the amount of times that I've hung out with her, she's always been, like in a great mood. She cracks jokes and she never turns down or declines an invitation to do anything. It's the consistency in doing that. I have other friends who, on the other hand, I just kind of know when I make plans for them, I really don't make plans, because the thing is, I'm like, they're going to back out or they're going to, because consistently they have done that over the years. And so I think that's where, similarly, like you're saying, a small business, and we always preach this, a small business has a personality, and that personality you shape over time. And that's the only way to do it. So anybody that has done business with you in the last 4 weeks is not going to know what your brand personality is. You have to build that over time. And like Chelsea is saying, showing up in a certain way, providing certain type of information is going to start to develop that and really craft that that brand personality for you. So that's a great point to why consistency is beneficial, not just to what we associate with like social media, but to your overall brand and marketing.
Yes, and I think that's a really good point to make, is that when we talk about consistency, yes, we're talking about social media, we're talking about marketing, staying top of mind, but we're also talking about giving your consumer the same experience. Even just being consistently open when you say that you're going to be open.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That is a big one. Consistency is in every part of your small business, whether you notice it or not. So stepping up to the plate and making sure that we're staying consistent can seem difficult, but it's something that you're going to have to do for your branding, for your marketing, to give your consumer the best experience possible, to just be open.
I think the another great way to utilize this consistency is we happen to offer a service where we will craft and send out emails on behalf of a business. So that way it frees them up from having to come up with all of that, verbiage and information. And, Chelsea and I live, breathe, and eat
content.
Content. So
we eat content.
We eat content.
And my cereal. Sorry.
So we eat content all day long. So it's easier for us to craft something because we live that world than it is for a small business owner that's having to shift gears between, selling their product and then having to go in and craft the content and all this stuff. So the reason I bring that up is there's one way where a particular client of ours really does a great job of utilizing this consistent communication. She sends out a weekly email. At the bottom of every email, she includes her schedule for markets. Okay. And the reason she does that is because her business, while it does sell its products online, it does also sell them at local farmers markets. And as an added benefit, you get a small discount if you purchase it at a local farmers market as opposed to online. But because she has developed this consistency in the communication, and as you're saying, her audience now expects it on a weekly basis, that they now can go in and actually look at the very bottom of every email, and they know that it's going to tell them where she's going to be next. Right, in person. So if they want to go chat it up with her, if they want to go in and stock up and buy some more of her products, they know where they can physically go to find her. And I think that's where we don't give consistency enough credit for how it can actually drive revenue back into our business. Because the truth of the matter is, if you guys are not utilizing these consistent marketing initiatives, then you're leaving money on the table. It's as easy as that. So you're not in their inbox, somebody else is.
An example that I have: when I worked in healthcare, we were once propositioned by a e-newsletter to advertise with them. and the provider that I was working for only wanted to do one day. Like be in the newsletter one day out of, I don't know, all the time in the world. Which,
so flash in the pan, like, hey, just give me one ad.
Just one ad. I think they were doing a sale or something like that, which is fine. But the thing is, seeing you one time, you're not going to be remembered. Being consistent and having consumers consistently view you is what's going to build a relationship and get them to interact with you. You can't just be a one-time, oh, well, they had a deal, so let me see if I can drum up something from this one ad. Maybe you can, but it's not going to be that effective, because think about how many ads you see every day.
You know what this reminds me of? All right, so we live in Charleston, and near the coastline, you have people that sell fresh shrimp. All right, and these boaters will come right off of, the water, and they'll have fresh shrimp in these ice coolers, and they will sit in these certain spots and sell the shrimp. So what you're talking about, a flash in the pan, a one-time ad, right? The reason you're not going to get the most out of that is because it would be like you being one of these shrimpers. I think that's what they're called. Fishermen. It would be like you being one of these fishermen that as soon as you come in, you get in your car, you pack your stuff, and every single week you're in a different location, right? And so what you're having to do is you're having to start all over again with your marketing, instead of, if you pick 2 spots that you're going to be in twice a week, right? So, and they're consistent over time, people start to associate and start to understand repetitively over time where your location is, right? Like, oh, I know Fisherman Bob is at the corner of this street and that street every Tuesday. And so that's the one thing that, to your point, Chelsea, consistency is really great when it comes to advertising, just for that reason, because people do need so many touch points nowadays. They're saying anywhere from 7 to 9 before you actually make a sell.
Yeah. Which I will say is also why you see the same company over and over and over again on social media and on YouTube. So I recently bought, we went to our concert. I bought new earplugs, some fancy earplugs, because 1, I go to a lot of concerts, and 2, I should probably protect my hearing. I'm 25. I don't want to be deaf. So
I don't want to be talking to you if you're deaf when you're older either.
You wouldn't be.
Even though I could swindle you out of a lot of stuff.
I'll keep that in mind, Vivian. But my point is, I had thought about it, and you know how your devices work. It started showing me the same ad and the same ad and the same ad. But you know what? In the end, I said, hey, I keep on seeing this company, this same ad. Let me click on it. Let me look at the reviews. Let me look at and I ended up buying them.
Yeah. And it's, probably because at some point you clicked on it and it tracked you, and it was like, oh, hey, she clicked on it, but she didn't make a purchase. And therefore it just followed you across all your other websites that you were like,
oh my gosh, absolutely. Now, the only problem is now I'm still getting those ads, even though I already made a purchase.
Yeah.
I'm not buying another set of earplugs, please.
You're like, can you please remove me? Like, move me into the other bucket of purchased, okay? Do you love making crafts and working on your small business but struggle to get them in front of customers?
Do craft fairs, events, or pop-ups leave you feeling overwhelmed or frustrated?
Introducing Rock Your Fair, the course designed to help you succeed in the world of craft fairs, pop-ups, and events, created by 2 marketing professionals with over 15 years of experience. Rock Your Fair is perfect for anyone who's new to the game or just wants to step up their game.
Our step-by-step approach will guide you through everything you need to know, from choosing the right events, to setting up your booth, to marketing your products effectively.
And you know what? You'll also get access to us for personalized coaching and feedback so you can put your best foot forward.
Do not let craft fairs, pop-ups, and events hold you back. Sign up for Rock Your Fair today and start rocking your way to success.
For a limited time, get access to our free mini course. Simply head over to our website at www.theseasonmarketer.com and click on workshops. Well, so let's take this conversation then into talking about the compounding effect of consistency, because you relayed this when it comes to ads, right? How presenting it over time, several ads, not just once, is going to be the most effective. Okay. So the way I like to think about this, and I know this firsthand because I have been doing YouTube videos for so long, and just to remind you guys, Chelsea and I, we're doing weekly YouTube videos, weekly emails, and a weekly podcast. That is a bunch of content in there on top of doing our social media and then stuff for clients. So when I say we get it, right? So we have to not only be organized, we have to learn how to be consistent and how to make it easy for us to be consistent. But what I personally have found is that there is this compounding effect that happens whenever you start to incorporate consistency with any type of marketing initiative you're doing or content creation. So let's take, for example, YouTube videos. When I first started doing YouTube videos, it felt very difficult and time consuming because the process was unfamiliar to me. Yes. All right. So when I said I'm going to start doing a weekly YouTube video, it was like a week-long process where I was writing the script, shooting the video, editing the video, putting all of the thumbnails, descriptions, all of that together to then be uploaded once a week. And over time, what I found was, those first videos were not good. I mean, the content was good. Everything else about it was not good, right? Because I didn't know what I was doing. But so the process was just foreign to me. Over time, as I started to develop those chops, it got easier. And so I like to think of it as a bell curve, where a bell curve will go up. So it's almost like you're on this uphill climb. It's so hard. It's so hard. It just feels hard. And then it plateaus out for a little bit and you're like, oh, I got the hang of this. Suddenly it's not foreign. I understand it. I have a process. I'm really, I'm shooting on all gears. It's good to go. And then the downhill curve, part of the curve, is going to be where then it becomes way easier so that you can start adding more to your plate. And the reason I say that is because I still do weekly videos, and yet somehow I find that it's way easier for me to incorporate hanging out with friends, adding, work for our clients on those same days that I would dedicate to just putting YouTube videos together. And so that same thing happens over time where, your brain has to develop that neuroplasticity. Your brain wants to help you. And the only way it can help you is if you start to create that consistent habitual behavior, and then it gets easier. And then you're like, oh, shoot, I got the hang of this, whatever. Like I could pump out a YouTube video now, a lot quicker than I did before. So
I think this also comes back to another point that I wanted to make, which is it's also being consistent is going to help you pick up on what's not working. If you're consistently doing something and you're not getting the results that you want, then there are changes that you need to make in that system. If you've been consistently running a Facebook ad and you're just not getting the clicks that you want, consistency isn't the problem. It's probably something with your ad.
There's actually a term in research, I think market research, that focuses on this. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the term is, but really what it's saying is there's not enough data available to make an accurate decision unless you're being consistent and you have data points, right? Yes. So back to your example, you run an ad one time. The only type of data that you're going to have to be able to see if that ad was successful is the actual clicks from that particular.
And it doesn't even have to be with advertising. So think about your social media. If you post consistently for 1 week, so you post every day on your social media and then you don't post again for the rest of the month, that's not good data. And that's not consistency that you're going to be able to look at and interpret. Even if you don't have to post every day, but if you consistently post maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, consistently posting Monday, Wednesday, Friday is going to help you to be able to look at your analytics and actually get a good idea of what is going on with your specific social media. Consistency does not equate to quantity. It does not equate to how many times you're posting on social media. It's just it just means you're being consistent with your schedule.
Yeah, you're figuring out what works best for you and what works best for
Mm-hmm.
your audience as far as getting them whatever information that you want to funnel to them at this point. All right, so we've thrown a lot of examples out there, but we want to be sure that you leave this episode with some actionable items that you can start doing every day and applying them in your small business. So that way you can up level your business. There's that made up word, Chelsea, up level.
Yeah. Mm.
All right, so first one, I'll go first. I think one of the first things that people can do is don't make it hard. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, the key to actually developing some consistent behavior, especially when it comes to anything marketing related in your business, is you guys have to be 100% truthful with yourself about where you are in your business and how much time you can dedicate to a certain task. So do not come up and create this like complicated process for, getting your social media posted or for creating email. If you cannot commit to writing an email, if you haven't hired someone and you're doing this on your own, if you cannot commit to sitting down once a week and writing an email that you can send out the following week on a consistent basis, then start with a monthly basis. Say you're going to do it once a month. Okay.
Yes.
There is no shame. It is better to do something at a smaller level and then over time get it going and then increase it as you go than it is to just like start something saying you're going to do something once a week. And then by the second week, you're not going to do it. And then you're like, I'm just going to throw it out the door. I'm not even going to worry about it. Start small.
Absolutely. And I think that's a huge problem across the board, not even with just small business, but just like in everyone's personal lives also. We tend to say, this is what I'm going to do. And we start all the way on the other end. You burn out. You can't do it. You can't handle it. You need to be,
Well, I was just going to tell you a personal thing. I had this dream a while ago. Well, not a dream, like it's a personal, like I wanted to for a couple years. I thought to myself, I'm going to do a fitness competition, right? Like just to see if I can actually do it. And then this is the thing. So I'm like, Vivian, first you need to start exercising consistently, which I was doing for a while, right? So a couple years ago, I probably would have been more primed to have taken on something like that than I am like here today when I haven't worked out in months. But that's the whole thing is you cannot like you can have a lofty goal like that, but if you're going from it's the reason they developed, have you ever seen the couch potato to 5K training programs?
No.
Okay, so basically they take people that are couch potatoes that do not exercise. And the training is focused on how to get them to finish a 5K. Notice this isn't a half marathon. Notice it's not the, what do you call it? The Iron Man or anything like that. They start with small actionable things. They're like from your couch to a 5K. All right. That's how you could do it. It's better to take tasks and divvy them up into smaller actionable steps and then get the habit of doing those. So then you can up level to doing the bigger stuff.
I know the biggest thing for me being organized, having one place to put everything. So you and I, we use Google Drive. I have a lot of clients. What I do is I have a folder for each client. I have folders in those folders so that I can keep track of, this is all the content for social media. This is all the content for emails for this client. Here's the next client. This is the content for the. So it's organized in a way that I can easily find things and I can easily stay consistent with what needs to be done. I am so scatterbrained. Anyone who has ever met me, I mean, I don't think I have ADHD, but let me tell you, sometimes you need to like snap at me because
Which is so funny because you were always like, I mean, you're super smart. You were always so put together with your studies and everything. You were on top of everything. So I do think that's probably the most surprising thing about you that I've learned over the years because, and even still you say that, but to me, you're not scatterbrained.
Well, that's because I put a consistent effort into
I thought you were about to say that. That's because you're a madman. You're a madman and I'm better at it than you are. Like you're just off the chain.
Well, for one, you're also scatterbrained. We're both just chaotic energy feeding off each other. But no, I have to, and this has been my entire life, and I guess I just hit it very well. I have always had to be consistently keeping track of everything I'm doing because I will forget. I will move on to something else. And when I move on to something else, it has all of my attention. I'll forget that I needed to go back to this.
So this reminds me of another actionable thing that people can do. So Chelsea just walked through how being organized has helped her to really be consistent with any type of initiative that she's doing. The other thing I will say, you know, Chelsea and I are a small team. It's two of us right now until, you know, hopefully one day we can bring on some more people. But using yeah, I mean, I need Raina to come and do all of our like Spanish, what do you call it? Translations,
that'd be perfect.
Yeah, Spanish videos, that'd be great. Yeah. So hint, hint down the road. But so that's the thing is using your team to be able to leverage any type of getting information out there helps. And so Chelsea and I were able to do that by utilizing that common Google Drive, where now we have a system, a very, I would say, well laid out system that we communicate when we're tossing notes to each other, when we're reviewing things, when Chelsea is saying, here are ideas, and then we're kind of putting all that together. We have a system developed, but we're tag teaming. So the other thing is, if it helps, people like being responsible for certain tasks. All right. So instead of saying, for example, it's Chelsea's responsibility to put all of our social media content out there. Okay. So we have a system to where if I do pop in there, which I do every once in a while, I'll like ping her and I'll say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. But she then has to incorporate it into the main schedule that we have built out. Right. But that is her responsibility. She knows that exactly what her role is, what her duties are, and that allows her to develop consistency. If you have too many hands in the pot, you're not going to be able to develop that consistency because there's going to be room for miscommunication. All right. So if you are a small business owner that has to have your hands in everything, just know it's going to be hard for you to grow and to have consistent communication because you're not going to be able to do it all on your own. So my thing to you is, if you have someone on your team that you know is a good writer, has a really great grasp on the product or services that you're selling, you can utilize them to say like, hey, I want you to start helping me put together some email communication. So if you don't mind, why don't you start a Word document and just brain dump, put your ideas on there, and then we can start to kind of shape that up, right? So let them know that by the time it gets to you in a file, it's got to be a first draft. And that's going to be a rough draft. You're going to have to go in and modify stuff until you guys get the hang of them eventually just being able to be a little more intuitive with your writing style and what you're wanting, but that only develops over time. So don't be afraid to use your team to help you create some of these consistencies in your business. The other thing, and the last part, I think really, there is no shame in utilizing resources. Okay.
Yes.
And this is a very real life example for Chelsea and I. Technology is changing so rapidly, y'all. Okay. You have to go in there and see what's out there as far as what could be a tool that you can use that can help you expedite any part of a process that you're doing. Perfect example. If you're on social media these days, let's say you're on Instagram, and you've noticed that people are posting, like they're promoting let's say a course. And then they're saying, type, if you're interested, in my free download or in my free training, type this word below and I'll send it to you in your DMs. The first thought you have is, wow, that's a really manual process. Like, are they hiring someone to sit there and literally go through their comments, reply back, and then send that person a DM with a, specific verbiage? No, it's all automated. There's a nifty little tool that we discovered that you could go in there and basically just set it up once and then it does it for you all day long. So now we have it set up because we have a course, right, for people that are participating in craft fairs, events, and pop-ups that we're wanting to promote. Well, now anytime Chelsea does the post for that, all she has to say is like, hey, type the word rock below and we'll send you the free training. And now she does not have to respond. It automatically will send them the DM. It replies to them. Then it sends them the DM with our verbiage and the link. And that's it. And now they're in our funnel. So literally, I think because they have a free version of the account, but I upgraded so that we can do certain things with it. It costs $15 a month, y'all. $15 a month for something that literally would have taken somebody monitoring your Instagram post. So just to recap very quickly, we're saying in order to be consistent with any of your marketing initiatives to help you up level what you're doing in your small business, you need to start small and don't make it hard.
Yes. And then try to be organized and have everything in one place.
And don't be scared to leverage team members and also to utilize resources that are available to you. Now, listen, if you guys are interested in finding out what that tool was that we're using, then go ahead and hit us up. You can email us at help@theseasonmarketer and we'll send you some info on that nifty little tool that we found and we're able to set up in a matter of 10 minutes.
If you guys have any other topics that you want us to discuss specifically, just let us know. Again, email us at help@theseasonmarketer.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. We're only accepting 5 stars.
And don't forget to go out there and be the best S.O.B. you can be.
Best S.O.B. you can be.